Or not to stretch? That is the question. Hi and welcome everybody. It's Jason Barlow, RMT, and I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform any stress, tension, and pain into health, happiness, and vitality. Here we are on Thursdays, and every Thursday I like to dive a little bit deeper into my new book, the 15-Step Playbook for Pain Relief, which I launched back in October. And there's many people that have got a copy already, and you should go quickly to get a free digital copy whilst it's still on there, because very shortly I'm going to be pulling off the book, and it's just going to be a free chapter that you can download to get a taste of it. And so this week we've gone through now all the way up to step number 6 included. As we start to get into step number 7, 8, and 9, these are my top 3 stretches that I'm recommending. Now, this is coming from my experience as a massage therapist, as a trainer. If you want to look at my background, just go to my website. You can spend some time doing that. And what I'm sharing with you here are my favorite stretches, partly favorite because they elicit the greatest effect for people. And they're usually the 3 tightest areas from my clinical experience as a massage therapist. So everybody could benefit from these stretches. Now, the important question, which I'm projecting out today, is to stretch or not to stretch. That is the question. Because it's a very important question to ask. Do we stretch? Don't we stretch? Or should we stretch? Or should we not stretch? Now, if we think back to our early ancestors, I'm sure they weren't going to yoga classes, and they weren't taking time to roll out that mat at the end of the busy day and stretch their hamstrings, stretch their quads, focus in on the piriformis, relieve their scalenes, and so on and so forth. Why? Because they probably didn't need to, and they probably didn't have any knowledge of it. I'm sure, though, I'm convinced that indirectly, just if you look at any wild animal, they'll position themselves periodically. If you've got a domesticated animal, you'll see them that they'll get into a position and just stretch. It just feels like the right thing to do. Just like when we bang ourselves, the right thing to do, it feels as though to rub it. We almost indirectly know that it feels good to rub, to stretch, to relieve in as natural a manner as we can. So we've always been doing it to a certain degree. Now why it's got to be a little bit more focused for us is how we spend most of our day. And this is what I allude to in my book, the 15-Step Playbook for Pain Relief, is I talk quite a bit about postural debt. We all have it. It's very hard to get completely away from it. But the important journey then is that recognize it and pay it off. Because if you recognize it and don't do anything about it, then guess what? You'll always get what you've always gotten by doing what you've always done. So you've got to look at changing some things. Now, if you come and see me, I would be able to educate you more on this, but the nitty-gritty, wherever you are in the world, listen to this, is this. Generally speaking, all the anterior muscles of the body, I didn't say everybody, I said generally speaking, most everybody has the anterior part of your body, muscles that are typically shorter and tighter. Now, when a muscle's short and tight, they are muscles that need to be stretched and lengthened. Now, these muscles down the front of the body, why do you think these are the muscles down the front of the body becoming shorter and tighter? To which you answered, because, Jason, we are spending most of our day in a seated position. We're sat eating food. We're sat on the toilet. We're sat driving to work. We're sat in school at the desks. We're sat at our desk, either at home now with COVID situation or going to our workplace, sat in our office space. And so sitting especially is predetermining the posture to want to round and fold and bend forward. And when you bring any 2 parts of the body closer together, what you're educating that muscle to do is to keep it in that position. So if you get a chance, you've got to read my book because I talk about this. We're accumulating this postural debt. But what's tipping the scale is it's the dose that makes the poison. So I might bend my elbow, for example, and I only spend a moment or 2 here, and then I extend my elbow. But if I keep my elbow bent for a period of time, several hours on my mouse and typing computer and so forth, what I'm telling my brain to do is to keep my hand, arm, elbow in this position, and it's teaching the muscles to keep in that position for a longer period of time. And that means the posterior muscles, the muscles on the back of the arm, are weakening. They're lengthening. So when it comes to answering that question of to stretch or not to stretch, I firmly believe from my experience, we need to stretch, but we need to focus on the muscles that are particularly short, particularly tight. We don't need to stretch all the muscles. If you have time and you wish and you want and it feels good to stretch, then listen to your body. But I'm prescribing to my patients that because certain muscles, and classically it's those anterior muscles down the front of the body, like I've said, are so short and so tight that if they want to stretch their whole body, I usually still recommend to imbalance their stretch program temporarily, because usually it's imbalanced. The body's imbalanced and the anterior muscles are so short and so tight, they need to be stretched at least on a 2, if not a 3 or more to 1 ratio between the front of the body and the back of the body. Now, without seeing you, assessing you, and knowing specifically what you need, just take this as general information, but take the knowledge, apply the knowledge, and then go see a therapist wherever it is that you reside who has the skills, has the knowledge, has the training. A Czech practitioner, and you can Google CzechInstitute.com or CzechConnect.com, and the word Czech is spelled C-H-E-K. And Paul Czech is the fellow who's trained me years ago in understanding the effects of posture, musculoskeletal imbalances that arise, and how to evaluate the body. So any Czech practitioner around the world would be able to pinpoint what type of stretches you need to do and where, and what type of exercises you need to do, and again, where. Because remember, in this equation that we've just been talking about, certain muscles are shorter and tighter. They need to be stretched and lengthened. Well, guess what? On the reverse side, the muscles are lengthened and weakened. They need to be shortened and tightened. If you're interested in that, go back to steps number 4 through 6. And that's where I share with you my top 3 exercises based upon that exact principle of shortening and tightening the muscles that currently are too long and too weak. And very often we get into this cycle where we think we got to move and exercise and strengthen the muscles that currently are too strong and too tight, and we perpetuate this cycle. And that's where you might be struggling of, you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back with musculoskeletal pain, or, any kind of symptoms in the body could be due to the fact that you're not approaching this in a holistic manner. You're not understanding your body. And this is the purpose of my videos, is to get educated and understand your body. And ultimately, you know your body better than anybody else does. So if you currently are stretching your body and it feels good and you feel like your body is better, then keep doing what you're doing. But if it's not working for you, then take heed of some of this advice today and just start to pay attention to the muscles along the front of the body that needs more stretching. Start to stretch them, and then start to work on strengthening the posterior muscles. Not sure what to do? That's where Jason's produced this book for you. You just go get a free digital copy whilst you can at jasonbarlowrmt.com. Leave me your email and I'll fire off you a digital copy. If you like this paperback edition, because if you're like me, a book lover, then you definitely could go to Amazon in your respective country. Just put in the 15-step playbook for pain relief, and you can order yourself a copy. It'll be with you within a few days. So thank you for joining me today. If you're joining live, please share a link, share your feedback, any comments below, and also any reviews. That's really appreciative because I'm past 100 episode now, so I'm going to be pushing more on, hey, okay, thank you for everybody who's been listening into this point, but now we want this audience to grow. Now I want more people to listen in. I feel this information is very beneficial. And the general feedback from people when they come into my clinic is, I love your podcast. Thank you for sharing this. But I need to know, and I want to help spread this message, and therefore people need to know, not just me. So share the link, share the video, share the podcast episode. Please provide a review of any kind that you can, either on my Facebook page, sure if we can do it on YouTube, if there's a way, figure it out. But definitely through podcast provider, and definitely through Facebook. And I really appreciate your support. If you've been able to get a copy of the book and you benefited from that book, well, even if you've not benefited, I don't know why you wouldn't benefit, other than maybe you bought it, you just set it on your shelf. Well, there's no excuses. You've not read the book. You've not applied the medicine. You got to go take the medicine to know if it's going to work for you. But do share some feedback. Email me if you want to, info@jasonbarlowrmt.com. Otherwise, I'm going to zip it. I'm done for today. Join me next week. I'm going to be diving into a bit more about these stretches, and we'll probably even get into step number 7 on this. And I hope you're enjoying this journey. I'm thoroughly benefiting from doing this experience, even though there's nobody directly in front of me. It feels a little foreign at first. Now, I just imagine that you're out there. So thank you so much if you've been able to join me. And yeah, your muscle health, my number 1 priority. That's why I do what I do. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.